This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Parshas Pinchas. Good morning, Rabbi Glatstein. Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe lemar. Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKoyin Heishiv es Chamasim al Bnei Yisrael. Because of what Pinchas did, he reverted Hashem's anger against Klal Yisrael from upon Klal Yisrael. Bekano is kinasi b'seicham, by taking up the vengeance of Hashem among Klal Yisrael. V'lechilisi es Bnei Yisrael b'kinasi. Says Rebbeinu Shalom, Pinchas is getting tremendous reward, tremendous schar. What's the reward of Pinchas? Lachein amar, therefore say, Hineni noisein loy es brisi shalom. Behold, I am giving him the covenant of peace. So the question is, what exactly is the covenant of peace? What Hashem all of a sudden writes an edict. Dear Pinchas, I hereby bestow upon thou the covenant of peace. Pinchas says, well, what do you want me to do with this? What's the covenant of peace? What am I going to do with the covenant of peace? I'll give it to the Arabs. What am I going to do with the covenant of peace? And then the pasuk says, V'hoisaloi l'zarei acharav, beris kehunas oilam. It will be for him and his descendants after him an everlasting covenant of kahuna, tachas asher kinei leilekav, because he took up the vengeance of the Rebbeinu Shalom by Yechaper al Bnei Yisrael, and he atoned for the Bnei Yisrael. So the first question that the Brisker Rav asks on these psukim in the beginning of the Parsha is that what does it mean Hashem is giving Pinchas everlasting kahuna? Hashem already promised the Kohanim that kahuna will be forever. There's a Sifri in Parshas B'Haloischa, number 2 on your sheets, that whenever the Torah says the word li means forever. The Sifri says, Esfali shivim zakenim, we see from the word li, the Sanhedrin will be forever. It says the Sifri, by the Kohanim it says, V'chianu li. By the Levim it says, V'hayu li halavim. From here, says the Sifri, we derive kahuna will be forever. In fact, the pasuk says in Sefer Yirmiyahu, in Parak Lamed Gimel, pasuk Yirches, number 3 on your sheets, V'la kohanim halavim lo yikares ish milafanai. No one will ever be cut off among the kohanim and the Levim. So the pasuk is saying there will be kahuna forever. So the Sifri says there will be everlasting kahuna. Yirmiyahu says there will be everlasting kahuna. So what's Hashem giving Pinchas? It's already a gift. The gift was given already. The gift was already given. It's like going over to your bar mitzvah boy. You gave him shas. You gave him a set of shas by his bar mitzvah. Now it's his chasana. You say, I want you to know, you know what I'm going to give you? I'm going to give you a beautiful shas that's in your room. So the kid says, you already gave me that 10 years ago. I don't need the shas. You already gave it to me. It's mine. So what's Hashem saying to Pinchas? V'hoisaloi l'zarei acharav bris kahunas oilam. Kahuna is already given forever. Says the Brisker Rav. B'chlal, you could ask. Of course Kohanim will be forever. Every Shevet in Klal Yisrael will be forever. That's why we have a haftacha, that not only will Klal Yisrael be forever, but all the Shvatim will be forever. So to that the Brisker Rav says, yes, all the Shvatim will be forever. But the Kohanim are not a Shevet. Kohanim are part of a Shevet. So just because Leviim will be forever, that doesn't mean Kohanim will be forever. So therefore Hashem has to promise that the Kohanim will be forever. But what's the extra promise to Pinchas? Says the Brisker Rav, yes, Kohanim will be forever. But which family of Kohanim? Maybe it will be the Cohens, will be the Rappaports, will be the Mezas, will be the Cats. Could be any of the Kohanim. So says the Griz, Hashem is telling Pinchas, yes, kahuna will be forever, but there's no guarantee for your family. Now I give you the haftacha that the everlasting promise of kahuna will be specifically in your mishpacha, in your family. And the Brisker Rav continues that Hashem tells Pinchas, I have given you my covenant of peace. What is the covenant of peace? That means that Pinchas is going to walk around with, an olive branch wrapped around his head. What is the covenant of peace? So if you look in the Navi Malachi says in Parak Beis, Pasuk Hey, Brisi haisa itai hachayim hashalom. My covenant will be with him of life and of peace. So we see from the Navi Malachi that the promise of peace is the promise of life. In other words, when Hashem tells Pinchas, I'm giving you the covenant of peace, that means you'll live forever. Says the Brisker Rav, now we understand that when Hashem then tells Pinchas that you will have everlasting kahuna from your family who in Pinchas' family will be the one to have everlasting kahuna? Says Rabbi Glatstein, it doesn't mean necessarily that there will always be kohanim from his family. It means he who will live forever will be that eternal kohen from which kahuna will never stop. Meaning, says Rabbi Glatstein, that when Hashem is promising Pinchas, not only will there be kohanim forever, but there will be kohanim from his family forever, and from which part of his family? Him. He's the one. Okay. And in fact, says Rabbi Glatstein, this is explicit in Rashi, in Masechta Zvachim, Daf Kuf Aleph, that the promise of Bris Kahuna Solam was not only for all the kohanim, but specifically for the descendants of Pinchas. Says the Bris Garav, but we find that there's another special promise given to Pinchas. And that is the following. La'asad Lavai, when Mashiach comes, so we're going to need to restore the tradition of Torah Sheba'al Peh. So who's going to restore the Torah Sheba'al Peh? The Gadol Hadar? The Gadol Hadar may be very great today. I recently heard a story, somebody, with all the politics in Israel, so people were stupid, and they spoke out against one of the Manhigei Hadar, Rabbi Glatstein. You have to be very careful. You can't speak out against any Jew, but to speak out against the Gadol Hadar, punishment is quick to come. And they told Reb Chaim Kanievsky, someone spoke out Chas Hashem against Rabbi Aryeh Leib. Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, "Oy vey, a yid that has Ruach HaKodesh." So they went back to Rabbi Aryeh Leib and they said, "You heard what Reb Chaim said about you? Reb Chaim said about you that you have Ruach HaKodesh." So Rabbi Aryeh Leib said, Kol HaPoisel b'mumay poisel. In other words, it takes one to know one. Reb Chaim could have only said that if he himself was a Baal Ruach HaKodesh. But nevertheless, as great as the Gdolei Hadar are, they don't have a tradition going back to Moshe Rabbeinu. The tradition of Torah Sheba'al Peh was broken by the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Now, if you look in the Rambam gives us a list of the authentic tradition of Torah Sheba'al Peh. The Rambam, in the Yad HaChazaka, in his introduction, he said Hashem gave the Torah to Moshe, to Yehoshua. Yehoshua then gave it to the Zakanim. Pinchas was Makabel from the Zakanim. And Eli was Makabel from the Zakanim and Pinchas. And Shmuel was Makabel from Eli, and David was Makabel from Shmuel, and Achia Hashiloini, who was actually one of the Yotzei Mitzrayim, and he was a Levi, he was Makabel from David, and Eliyahu HaNavi was Makabel from Achia Hashiloini. Says the Bris Garav, La'asad Lavai, when Mashiach comes, we are going to want to restore the authentic tradition of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. Who's going to do it? The Gedolei Hadar of our generation, they don't have that tradition. It was broken. The last generation, no. You're going to need someone to come back who actually had the authentic tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu. Who is that? Eliyahu HaNavi. Because Eliyahu HaNavi had the Messiah from Achia Hashiloini. So we're going to need someone to come back and restore the Torah that was forgotten. Who's going to do it? There's only one person. Someone who's in the authentic line. Who is that? Like the Eliyahu HaNavi. So very interesting. Says the Chidushei HaGriz. That is what the pasuk means in Malachi. Aside from the fact that the Torah says that Pinchas was given Kahunas Olam, the pasuk says in Malachi, Ki sifsei koyin yishmeru das. The lips of the koyin Eliyahu HaNavi is going to guard the das of the Torah. The Torah yivakshu mipiyu. We're going to seek out Torah from him. Why him? Because we need someone who actually has authentic Messiah dating back to Moshe Rabbeinu. So Eliyahu has tradition, has Messiah from Achia Hashiloini. He will come back and La'asad Lavai L'Yimayis HaMashiach. He will restore the authentic tradition of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. And the question is, why him? Why is he going to be the one that when all the Torah is forgotten, he's going to restore the Torah? So the Brisker Rav says an amazing thing. That really no one else is going to be able to do it. Because how are we going to do it? We're going to ask Hashem? Even Hashem can't do it. Because it's loy b'shamayim, the Torah is not in heaven. You need someone who has the authentic tradition. But there are many people who have David, Shlomo, Yeshua, Achia Shiloni. Why Eliyahu? Says the Brisker Rav, because we're all familiar, the Gemara in Sanhedrin on Daf Pei Beis, that the Shevet Levi was being mezaneh with the Bnei Smoyav. And they were being killed out. and they come to their Nasi and they say, Nasi, what's happening? We're being killed out. We're not doing anything wrong. You can live with a Goya. So he goes to Cosby, the Nasi of Shevet Shimon, Zimri ben Salu, goes to Cosby, and he says, listen to me. In other words, live with me, have relations with me. She said, I only have relations with the king, with the top Jew. I want the biggest Mitsuyan in Lakewood, not just you. I want the best guy in Klal Yisrael. My father told me if you're going to be Mezaneh, only go for the best. He says, who do you want? She said, Moshe Rabbeinu. He said, I'm better than Moshe. Moshe is from the third Shevet Levi. I'm from Shevet Shimon. He grabs her by the chup, by the shaitel. He drags her to Moshe and says, Moshe, is this woman mutter or asar? And if you're going to tell me she's asar, who gave you permission to live with the daughter of Yisrael? Nobody knew what the halacha was. Everyone forgot the halacha. Everyone was crying until a man by the name of Pinchas says, Moshe, my great uncle, the brother of my grandfather, you taught us when you came down from Har Sinai, Haboyel Aramas Kanon Poigim Boy. So Moshe said, Taka, you're right, the halacha is you have to kill him. You remember the halacha, you carry out the act. Kraina de Igarta you lahavet parvanka. The one who reads the letter has to carry out the act. You kill him! Says the Brisker Rav. At a time in our history when the halacha was forgotten and no one remembered the halacha, not Moshe, not Aaron, nobody. At a time when the halacha was forgotten, there was only one person who remembered the authentic tradition going back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Who is that? Pinchas, Eliyahu. So la'asad lavai, at a time that the Torah is really forgotten and no one has the authentic tradition anymore, who's going to restore it? Pinchas Eliyahu. Midah keneged midah. Because at a time in history when it was forgotten, he's the only one who remembered it. So la'asad lavai, when the Torah will be forgotten, he will be the only one who will be able to restore the Torah. And this is the meaning of the pasuk. Ki sifsei koyin yishmeru das. The lips of the koyin will guard knowledge. The Torah yavakshu mipiyu. We will seek out Torah from his mouth. Why will we seek out Torah from the mouth of Eliyahu and not from anyone else? The pasuk tells us before. Torah's emes hoisa b'fiyu. Because at a time when no one else had the Torah, he remembered the Torah. So in terms of why he deserves kahuna, that the Chumash says, Tachas asher kinei lelekav, so Hashem gave him kahuna asoila. But now, why will he be the one who restores Torah to Klal Yisrael? Because Torah's emes hoisa b'fiyu. Because at a time when no one else remembered the Torah, he remembered the Torah. Yesterday, I found a sefer.
Can I ask just one question that goes back to what we started at the beginning? We said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised Shalom means Chayim, there will be forever. Mm-hmm. And we learned out from Li that whenever it says Li, it means forever. So we know Bnei Yisrael is Avadim Li, right?
Ki Li Bnei Yisrael Avadim.
Right? So if that's the case, how could Hashem said over here, V'lo chilisi es Bnei Yisrael b'kenasi? He couldn't possibly have done it. He already promised Bnei Yisrael they're going to live forever. What would this have meant?
Right, that's why it's a good thing Pinchas came, so Hashem didn't have to do it. It's like yesterday, no? In other words, you're right. Someone had it, that's why Hashem orchestrated a Pinchas, so that he wouldn't have to destroy them. But it would have been...
Couldn't have, even if Pinchas wasn't there.
He wouldn't destroy Moshe.
There had to have been some... But who did it? Harbe shluchim l'makam. You're right, he couldn't have done it. But who decided to be the vehicle through which God wouldn't do it?
So he sent the vehicle so he wouldn't have to get put in that position.
That's what he said.
Okay, Rabbi Sai, that's the words of the Brisker Rav. That Pinchas accomplished two things. Pinchas was rewarded with everlasting kahuna. Why? Tachas ar shakinei le'akav. Pinchas is rewarded that he's going to restore Torah Shabbat Pel. Why? Tairas emes haisa b'fiyu. I found yesterday a sefer called Torah Ar, written by a student of the Brisker Rav. It's exactly the same font as the Brisker Rav, and he comments and makes additions on the chidushim of the Griz, and he adds a very beautiful thought to what we just learned. We have another important concept, and that concept is that just as the Torah Shabbat Peh, the authentic tradition of Torah Shabbat Peh ceased, another thing ceased. There's something else that ceased, and that is Nevuah. Nevuah ceased. It says in Eicha, Look in number 12. Tavu va'aretz shareh. The gates of the Beis Hamikdash sunk in the ground. V'shiber bricha. Its bars were broken. Malka v'sareha b'agoyim ein Torah. Her queen, her king, her ministers were in the Goyim. There's no Torah. Gam nivieha leimatzu chazon me'Hashem. Even her prophets have not found prophecy from Hashem. So we see from here that Nevuah ceased in the time of the Churban. The Ran says something very important. The Ran in the Drashas Haran, in Drush Shmini, Amud Reish Tzadi Aleph, the Ran says like this. The Ran says that the same way Torah Sheba'al Peh has an authentic tradition from Moshe to Yehoshua to the Zakenim to Shmuel to David to Achia Shiloni to Eliyahu, Nevuah also has to have a tradition. If you didn't get Nevuah from a Navi, you're not a Navi. You can't just wake up one morning and say, I ate a good breakfast this morning, I'm a Navi now. No. Nevuah has to be passed down, has to be given over. Like we find that in Parshas Ba'aloischa, Moshe had to put his hands on Yehoshua, not just give over Torah Sheba'al Peh, to give over Nevuah. The Ran explains that is why it is necessary to see the Rebbe, to look at the Rebbe, because the Rebbe is the conduit either of Chachma or Nevuah. And the Gemara even tells us that Rebbe said the reason he's better than his friends is because he saw Rav Meir from behind, and if he saw him from his front, he would have been even better. Like the pasuk says, "Ki hi v'hayu einecha royes esmarecha," or Chachmas Adam Toyer Panav. So says the Ran that Chachma and Nevuah were given over from generation to generation, and that is why the Ran says, as the generations progress, Chachma is weaker, Nevuah is weaker. Like we explained. It's like making a photocopy. You make a copy from the original, it's not as clear. You make a copy from the copy, it's even less clear. You make a copy from the third copy, it's even less clear. So as the generations proceed, Chachma is lost. Nevuah is lost. Says the Ran, that is why Elisha tells to Eliyahu, look Eliyahu, I have one last request. So Eliyahu said, fine, ask me one last thing. So Elisha says, give me double your nevuah. Give me double your nevuah. He says, Vayomer Elisha, Vihi na pi shnayim beruchacha alai. Please give me, na. Please give me double of your ruach. And Eliyahu said, you're asking good. If you see me when I'm taken away, then you can have it. If you don't see me when I'm taken away, you won't have it. Explains the Ran that a Talmud can never be greater than the Rebbe, because they're merely getting what the Rebbe is giving them. However, so what's Elisha asking for? Says the Ran that the last day of Eliyahu's life, he's being taken up and lifted up and becoming a malach forever. So at that moment, he's reaching a level he never reached b'chayav. So Eliyahu says, if you could see me when I'm reaching that level, then you'll be able to get double of what I gave you when I was alive. Because now in my last day, I'm reaching double as great as I was before. And if you could see that and receive that, good. But if you don't see me, then you'll be stuck with whatever I gave you during my lifetime. So the Ran...
Is double still less than the original?
Yeah, double is still going to be not as much as Eliyahu is reaching now, but it's going to be double of what Eliyahu gave him b'chayav. So what do we see from here? The Sefer Torah points out that not only was there a tradition of Chachma, of Torah Sheba'al Peh, there's a tradition of Nevuah, which ceased with the Churban. So la'ased lavai Rabbi Sai, who's going to bring back Nevuah? Who are you going to say? The Gadol Hadar?
Original.
You need someone who was among the original chain of Nevuah. Only Eliyahu HaNavi. Now let's read the Psukim. The Sefer Torah points out that, look in Pasuk Zayin. Ki sifsei kayin yishmeru das v'Torah yavakshu mipiu. Torah yavakshu mipiu refers to what? Torah. Torah Sheba'al Peh. Who's going to preserve the original tradition of Torah Sheba'al Peh? Pinchas. But what's the beginning pasuk? Ki sifsei kayin yishmeru das. The lips of the kayin will preserve das. What's das, Rabbi Say? Rashi in Kisisa says, "Va'amale oisay ruach alakim b'chach mesuna uvedas." Rashi says, "Das is ruach hakodesh." So Pinchas is going to restore two things. Ki sifsei kayin yishmeru das. Pinchas will bring back the authentic tradition of nevuah. What else will he bring back? The Torah yevakshu mipiu. He'll bring back the authentic tradition of Torah. Of Torah.
And what's the difference?
So now the question is, we've already explained why is he going to bring back Torah? Because at a time that the Torah was forgotten, Torah's emes haisa b'fiu pasuk vav. He had the true Torah in his mouth. At a time when Torah was lost, he restored it. So mida keneged mida, he's being rewarded. He will restore it l'ased lavai. But why is he being rewarded that when nevuah is forgotten, he's going to restore nevuah? Why is he being rewarded with that? So says the Sefer Torah R, let's match up Pihu with Pihu and Svasav with Svasav. Look what he writes. Pasuk Vav, it says, Torah's emes hoisa b'fihu, because he had the Torah when it was all forgotten, he's rewarded. In the next pasuk, V'Torah yavakshu mipihu. Torah mipihu, Torah mipihu. But then it says, V'Avla lo nimtza b'svasav, because no iniquity was found in his lips. What does it say? Ki sifsei kayin, the lips of the kayin, yishmeru das. Let's match up svasav with svasav. Says the Sefer Torah R, what is the job of a Navi? The primary job of a Navi is not to speak prophecy. The primary job of the Navi is musar, rebuke. Tell the people what they're doing wrong. Milosha niv sifasayim. The lips have to lambast the people. A Navi tells the people what they're doing wrong. In fact, the Rambam writes in many places, we have two on our sheet over here. The Rambam writes, look at number 17 and 18. Kol HaNaviim haichichu Yisrael. They reprimanded Klal Yisrael. Or the Rambam in number 18. The third line, the job of a Navi is not to necessarily speak words of the future. It's to lambast the people, to tell them what they're doing wrong. Now, you think the people liked the Naviim in the olden days? No. What they do is Zechariah, they stoned him to death. What they do with Yirmiyahu, they threw him in a pit. So nowadays they're nice to rabbis compared to what they used to do.
Because rabbis are not Naviim.
Yeah. But they should be. They should be telling the people.
Now they just get fired.
So Rabbi Say, says the Sefer Torah R, an amazing thing. Pinchas is going to restore two institutions. Institution number one, Nevuah. Institution number two, Torah Sheba'al Peh. Let's read the Psukim. They read beautifully. The Chumash tells us that Pinchas is rewarded, that he has kahuna, that it gives a reason for. Tachas asher kinei le'leikav. But why, Rabbi Say, in Pasuk Zayin and Malachi and Parak Beis, Ki sifsei kayin yishmeru das, why is he going to preserve das as Ruach HaKodesh? Why is it going to be Torah Yavakshu Mipiu? So look in Pasuk Vav. Torah's emes haisa b'fiu. At a time that the Torah Sheba'al Peh was forgotten, and nobody knew the halacha of Habal Aramis, Kano, and Paigin Boy, Pinchas restored it. And at a time that there was no one to tell the people what they were doing wrong, no one to lambast the people, to give musar, v'avla lo nimtza b'svasav. There was no iniquity on his lips. He said it as it was. But he didn't insult anyone. He didn't hurt anyone's feelings. He just killed them. He didn't cause any damage to anybody personally. It was b'shalom uv'misha halach iti, but v'avla lo nimtza b'svasav, and he was rewarded with two things. Ki sifsei kain yishmeru das la'asad lavai. Hashem is going to send Pinchas, Eliyahu, to restore the institution of nevuah. And number two, v'Torah yavakshu mipiu. Hashem is going to send Pinchas, Eliyahu, to restore the institution of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Harachamanu yishlach lanu es Eliyahu zachur latay vivasar lanu v'sayro es toy v'es yeshuas v'nachama es agun.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.